The bond of Toad and Puma. Deep within the heart of an ancient forest, where time moved slower and the trees whispered secrets older than memory, lay the Forest of Whispers. It was a place few dared to enter, for within its emerald depths, ordinary animals became something more. Something awakened. Among the roots of a moss-covered tree, at the edge of this enchanted world, lived a small creature named Timid Toad. He was unremarkable by all accounts, round and quiet, prone to hiding in the shadows of rocks or curling beneath wet leaves. Each day, he listened to the world without ever truly touching it. And each night, he dreamed of something greater, though he never admitted it, not even to himself. One evening, as the last sliver of sun melted into the canopy, a strange pull stirred within him. Perhaps it was the call of destiny, or simply a moment of courage. But whatever it was, Timid Toad stepped beyond his mossy home and entered the forest's breathless silence. The deeper he went, the more alive the forest seemed. Ferns glowed softly in the twilight, and vines twisted as if they were listening. The air smelled of rain and forgotten things. As he hopped cautiously along an overgrown path, he noticed other animals gathering. A badger whose eyes sparked with lightning, a gazelle whose hooves never touched the ground, and dozens more, each surrounded by a faint, magical aura. Timid Toad didn't yet know that the Forest of Whispers gave gifts only to those who needed them most. And he, quiet, overlooked, afraid, was exactly the kind of soul the forest wished to awaken. From the shadows, powerful Puma watched. He was the ruler of his territory, feared and obeyed. Yet tonight, even he felt small beneath the vast magic blooming around them. Something stirred in the earth. A shift, a warning. Their eyes met. Predator and prey, unequal in form, yet bound by something greater. Neither moved, but the forest moved around them. Between the roots and the stars, their fates had quietly entwined. In the following days, they explored the forest together, not as enemies, but as two beings transformed. Timid Toad discovered the ability to shape water, summoning droplets from the air, guiding streams with a flick of his tiny hand. Powerful Puma, to his shock, learned he could command the very ground beneath his paws, cracking stone, shifting roots, calling forth walls of earth with a growl. At first, they trained apart, then together, and with each trial, each small challenge overcome, crossing a raging river, calming a furious storm, they grew closer, no longer beast and prey, but companions walking side by side. The forest, however, was not merely a cradle of wonders. In the distance, a darkness had begun to seep from the borders. Trees wilted, creatures vanished. The whispers turned into warnings. Something old and broken had awakened, and it hungered. The time for testing was over. When the shadows finally rose, pouring like smoke through the trees, the animals gathered. Fear was thick in the air, but so was determination. Timid Toad stepped forward first, his water forming a protective wall. As the corruption advanced, powerful Puma followed, sending tremors through the earth with every paw step. Together, they fought. The battle was chaos. Lightning split the sky. Roots surged from the ground. And still, the dark tide pressed on. But at the very center, in a glade of dying light, Toad and Puma stood firm. One small and glowing blue, the other tall and golden brown, united in purpose. As the darkness threatened to engulf them, Timid Toad reached within himself, not for power, but for hope. And from that hope, A wave of pure, cleansing water erupted, washing over the glade. At the same time, Puma roared, and the ground rose in a great circle, sealing the heart of the forest like a shield. When the light returned, the darkness was gone. Around them, the forest began to heal. Flowers bloomed. The air grew warm. Creatures emerged from hiding, blinking in the dawn. For the first time in a long while, peace returned. Timid Toad was no longer timid. He stood tall, or as tall as a toad could, and looked upon his home with pride. Powerful Puma, too, had changed. No longer a solitary hunter, he had found something more valuable than dominance. He had found a friend. Together, they watched as the sun rose over the forest of whispers. Magic still pulsed beneath the leaves. The future was uncertain, yes, but for the first time, it belonged to all of them. Not because they were strong, but because they had chosen to be brave.